Hi, my name is Matt Goldbach, and I'm going to be your TA for this semester of Aki 574. And today I'm just going to give a quick demo on how to use Tableau for your individual assignments throughout the semester. So for this, I'll be using the Tableau public free online version that they have. But if you already have the Tableau desktop app, you can also use that throughout the semester. So first, you're going to create a profile on Tableau public, and then you're going to go to your profile. And then here on your profile, it's going to compile all of your visualizations throughout the semester. But to get started for your first assignment, you're going to click Create a Viz. And then it's going to ask you to upload the data that you're going to use for your visualization. So here I'm going to upload Tableau Demo data from Canvas. But for each individual assignment, you'll be provided with an Excel spreadsheet to work on. So it's going to upload that data to Tableau. And then here you can see the Excel spreadsheet only has one sheet on it, Fortune 250, but if it were to have multiple, they'd be presented here. And then by dragging them over to this middle column, you can select the data that you want to work on. So once you select the sheet you want to work on, you're going to select sheet 1 to get started, and it's just going to move that all over to sheet 1. So now that the data has been moved over to the sheet, you can see that it's all presented here on the left in this column. It's going to be split into two categories, dimensions on the top and measures on the bottom. So the dimensions are going to be your categorical variables such as auditor, company, country, and these are typically going to be your independent variables. And then at the bottom here, you have your measures, the numerical variables such as total fees, total revenue, and then also latitude and longitude on the bottom if they give geographic data. And so in order to get started on your visualization, you're going to want to select the data you want to work with. So for instance, if your assignment were asking to compare auditors by their total fees, you would select auditor and move it over into the columns. And then here you'll see the columns of all the different auditors presented in the data. So here you can see that there are some null data that you might not want to work with. And so if you want to deselect specific data, you'll just move the variable that you're working with over to filters and then deselect whatever data you don't want to work with and then select OK, and then it will just compile the data that you have selected. So also you can see that there are some duplicate variables here just based on how the data was presented in the original file. And so if you just want to have these grouped together into one data point, you'll have to right click on the variable that you're working on. Then you're going to go to create and then group. So here is all of the data in this variable. And so you're just going to select the one you want to group, click group, and then you can drag this over into that group. And then here you can see that all of the Deloitte is in one data point or one variable. And so here you could do the same thing with PwC, just drag that over. And then now you only have 4 auditors to work with. Then once you have that, you'll have a new auditor group, and then you could rename that if you want to whatever you want. So auditor filtered, click OK, and then now you'll have a new variable to work with. So you'll get rid of that original, use your new one, and now it'll just have the 4 big 4 auditors there that you want to work with. So now that you've cleaned up that first auditor data, you'll move over to the next data that next data point you want to work with, which is total audit fees. Move that over to rows. And then here you'll see it created a bar chart for you. So you'll have your columns of auditors that have been filtered at the bottom, and then on the left you'll have your total audit fees presented. And then let's say if you didn't want to have to hover over and show the total audit fees, you wanted to just have them presented on the bar chart themselves. That's what these marks are for. So you'll have the label mark and you'll just drag over whatever you want to have shown on your visualization into label. And then that will show whatever you have dragged over. And then if you had a lot of variables and you wanted to differentiate them by color, let's say, you would just drag this over. Oops, sorry, auditor filtered. to color. And then that also will differentiate them by color. And then let's say that for whatever instance you wanted to change the colors around. If you had, let's say, a map and wanted to use colors that would more clearly present your data, you'll just click this little arrow, edit colors, and then you can select the specific colors that you want to use. And then the other points here in the marks, if you wanted to show, let's say, the specific or just any other data you wanted to show, you would just add that to detail. And then as you hover over, you can also see their total revenue or the total revenue of the companies that they work with. And so any other data that you want to show, you'll just drag that over to detail. And then lastly, for size, it's not really presentable because it's already shown by size in a bar chart, but for other graphs, if you wanted to show different points on a scatter plot and show them by size, you can also change it to be sized differently. And then you can also change it just the size in general to be skinnier or wider columns or smaller or larger dots on a scatter plot. So here, if let's say you were done with this visualization and you want to move over to the next point, since in your individual projects throughout the semester, you're going to have multiple visualizations that you're going to have to present from one data set, you'll just click the next sheet and you'll be able to get started on a new one. But you'll always want to show, let's say you just want to do question one, you just want to differentiate the sheets to show what you're working on. Sorry, question one. And then that will automatically change your visualization title. But if you wanted to have that specific to be, let's say, auditor fee by auditor, you're going to want to show what you're presenting in the visualization so it's clear to the grader. And then lastly, for this visualization, the most important thing as you're going through this is to just publish it as you're going. It's the most annoying thing to realize that you haven't published and then your network isn't connecting and you'll have to start all over again. So it's just important to always click publish as you're going along in each sheet. So I'll just do demo, publish. It's going to take a second to load. And then that will be available to you. And then as you're going, you're just going to always click publish to save it. And then moving on, once you're done with the visualization, you'll usually have multiple in an assignment that you'll have to create. So you're going to click sheet 2 or sheet and it'll create sheet 2. And then you'll be able to create a new visualization. So even just working with the same exact variables, sorry, let me do auditor filtered. And then filter this to just be the ones I want. Even though it creates a bar chart at the start, you can click show me and see the options available for you for the variables that you have present or have selected. So here, if I wanted to create a bar chart, you just click that. And then since it's not showing a lot of detail, you'll have to clean this up. So you can click here to change the fit of your visualization. So I usually just do entire view. So make it centered. And then as we showed before with the marks, if you want to add more detail, you can just select the variables that you have presented. So total audit fees label, auditor filtered label. And then with the pie charts, usually you're going to want to show the percentages of each slice instead of just the total amounts. So you're going to go to the variable that you're working with, go to detail, then you're going to right click that variable down here, go to quick table calculation, and then percentage of total. And then you can move that to label and you'll have the percentage. So instead of just having the total amount, there, oh, wrong one. But as you saw, you can just create that to be the percentage points. And then you can even just include that in detail. So if you wanted more detail, you can have that as you hover over, but overall you can have the percentage presented. And then as always, you're going to name it what you are presenting. And then another detail in these visualizations that you're going to want to include is a caption to show what you're seeing here. So you're going to go to worksheet, show caption, and it's going to automate just what it is showing, but you're going to want to include, let's say, PwC has 35.08% and so on. And then you're going to want to include details about what that means for what you're analyzing. And then after you're done, you're always going to publish. It's going to take a second to load. And then as you can see, as you leave, just go to my profile, it'll be there for you to re-edit. Another feature that's helpful if the variables aren't showing up in the correct categories that you want, let's say that year was a measure, but you want it to be a categorical variable instead, you can either drag it over to the section that you want it to be in, or you can right click, convert to dimension. And then as you can see, it will separate by year rather than just having that as a numeric variable. So let's say you wanted to show auditor by year and then show the total audit fees or total revenue. You can do that as well to compare. And then you can also separate these as well. And then remember to always remove any extra variables that you don't want to include. So another visualization that you'll probably have to make throughout the semester is a line chart. So as you can see, you can just go to show me, click line chart, and it'll show the specific variables that you need to include. It says try one date, 0 dimensions, and one or more measure. So here, year is categorical variables. You're going to change that to continuous, move it to rows, and then select whatever variable that you want to show over time. So let's say total audit fees, select that. And then Ability is not the best visualization since it's only 2 years included, but as you can see, it's going to show you your total audit fees over time. Then as any other visualization, you can change that to be different colors, different sizes, and include different details in the visualization. So along with what we've gone over so far, another visualization that you'll need to go over in your assignments throughout the semester will likely be a scatter plot. So this is going to use 2 different numeric variables, as you can see here. Let me move this over, 2 to 4 measures. So what you'll need is to compare 2 of the measures provided. So let's say you wanted to compare total audit fees with US revenue to see if there was a correlation between the size of the companies presented or the companies in the data set and their total audit fees. So as you can see, there's not much shown here. And when you make a scatter plot or a graph and it doesn't quite look right, usually it's because you have aggregate measures checked. So if you unclick this, as you can see, now you can see the relationship between these 2 variables. And if you ever wanted to switch the 2 to have US revenue and total audit fees switched, you would just click this button right here, swap rows and columns, and you can see the inverse relationship. And then once again, if you wanted to change the size of the dots on the scatter plot in order to have them separated more, you can always do that. You could change the shape of them. You can change the color, anything to make your visualization easier to read and understand. And then as always, you're going to add a worksheet, show caption, and then describe the relationship that you see here. And then after all this, you'll click publish. And then once you're done with all of the requirements set in the prompt given to you for each assignment, if you want to, you can either keep them in individual sheets or you can display them in a story based on what's being asked for you. So you can either start with a dashboard and then add them individually to your dashboard. Here, I was clicking Shift in order to individually add them. Otherwise, it will automatically set the formatting. But if you weren't to, or sorry, that's a sheet, delete dashboard, it'll automatically just add them as so. So it's up to you how you want to format. But just delete that. As you can see all your visualizations, and it's easier to compare them if that's being asked of you in the prompts. And then if you wanted to, you can just add your commentary to each sheet. So here it'll upload what you already have written in each sheet. This didn't have anything before. And then you can compare between the two, or between however so many visualizations you have, in order to describe any trends you see or anything being asked of you in the assignment. You can also add it to a story. So this automatically has a caption here. It's up to you if you want to add to a dashboard or a story, but here it just makes it easier to view rather than the smaller format in a sheet. And then it automatically has a caption available to you. So if you wanted to individually show them on a larger scale, you can add a story, or if you wanted to add a dashboard and show them all compiled and then just individually show the trends along with them, you can choose that to do that as well. Another helpful tip for working with these visualizations is that sometimes the data can be a bit confusing. Sometimes they'll have keys that will describe each variable. So it's helpful to look into that and do more research into the data you're working with, since sometimes you'll upload an Excel sheet and you'll see all these variables and you're not really sure what to do with them or what any of them represent. For instance, if you see this SIC, you might not know that that's the industry code. So just before you start working on your Tableau visualizations, it's just important that you understand what kind of variables you're working with so that you can really be able to like answer the questions that are provided in the prompts and be able to give valuable analysis in the visualizations that you're creating. You can also look further into this just by looking at the Excel sheet provided, since that will give you a better indication of what kind of data you're working with. So you might not understand just what variables you're seeing on this left-hand panel, but seeing this in an Excel sheet all presented out might make it a bit easier to understand which variables you need to pick out and how to get the trends you're looking for. And then once you do your research into what these variables represent, you can then better visualize them by, let's say, grouping them. So for instance, you can see all these SIC codes are individually shown. But if you were to look into these industry codes, you can see that they're grouped into specific blocks, usually by the 100 or 1,000. So all of these 1,000 codes are Office of Energy and Transportation. So if you wanted to, you can take all of these that are 1,000, group them, select all that are 1,000, and then group them together, and then rename them to be Office of Energy and Transportation. Yeah. So that way you could just have these all compiled, because the raw data doesn't really make much sense as individual industry codes. But if you have them grouped together, then it makes much more sense in your visualization, and you can make better arguments of what the trends of the data are. But then remember to always rename your group, or just make sure that it's differentiated from your original so that you can know which one has the filtered and which one is the original. Then once you have all of your visualizations finished, you will compile them if you want into a dashboard. And it's helpful since, let's say you have a certain visualization that has multiple variables and you want to be able to filter it, then you can select, let's say you just want to focus on Deloitte. And so you would click this filter button and then select whichever variable you want to look at. And then it would show this trend just for a specific auditor. So you can see that maybe one auditor might have, or one audit firm might have a stronger correlation between this revenue and fees rather than another. So you can compare to see how they differ. Then once you have everything done that's been described in the instructions and you have everything written out on how you want to analyze the trends in your data, you're going to want to finally publish for the last time. Then once that's published, you're going to exit out and it's going to show the most previous sheet you were working on, but it'll still include everything that was in your original. So you're going to exit out. Then you're going to download, and you're either going to download as a workbook or a PowerPoint, depending on what it specifies in the instructions. But you're going to download that, and then that will show up in your downloads. So overall, the instructions that are provided in your assignments are going to be pretty straightforward into each step that you need to take to get to the visualization that you want to create. And then it's up to you to decide how you want to interpret that and what trends you want to highlight. But overall, if you're ever lost, it's helpful to just look at the features provided to see what kind of visualizations you can make and what you need. And then if you ever need help, you can always consult this video, or if you ever have any questions about a specific assignment, I'll be available either by email or in office hours. I'm available on Fridays from 1 to 3 in room 2056 at the BIF.